What is up, folks? Amigos and amiguettes? Is that how you say female amigos in Spanish? I don't know, I just made up a word. Isn't that amazing? Abracadabra, bitch. Tonight's video is going to be... it's a bit of a contentious one, I would say, but it is something that could bleed into different facets of life, whether it's philosophical, whether it's existential, whether it's financial, economical, whatever the case is. You guys take your pick, okay? But I cannot promise you that it won't be anything weird. That's what you get when you're on this channel. It's not an oddly terrifying with Maiden video, but I think what might be a little bit terrifying in terms of the concept of what we're going to talk about, and it's an underlying element, that you're going to have to be facing that existential dread of the uncertainty of life. The uncertainty of life. That's not really the topic, but it is something that's going to make or break you, if it's going to make you stay or make you move or just make you freeze or however you're going to react. I'm sure a lot of you have already experienced this existential situation at one point or another in your lifetime. That is what I'm slowly experiencing. But it's a big decision to make that in secret. I'm not going to get too much into it. There's a lot of talks, but if you guys saw the title of the video, I hope it caught your attention. At the face value, it may seem it's a little bit odd to write such a thing, but I want to talk about this because I think there is a lack of nuance, especially on the internet, as per usual, that is lacking. So, behold the question. Are you a coward for living your life? Now, I'm just going to get to the two sides, actually technically three sides of this situation. So, numero uno. Now, number one would have to be, we have to look at the Canadian context, because that's what I'm familiar with, or the Quebec context. Now, I think a lot of people at this point in time are feeling a plethora of things. I don't want to sit here and be solipsistic and say that what I went through during the pandemic, everybody else felt it. Some people actually had positive experiences during the pandemic for their own personal life if they're that much of an introvert. But for me, there is obviously a shift going on in the paradigm and with people's behavior and in the zeitgeist going on here in Canada. And it is not for the better, not for the good, definitely for the worst. And I don't want to be black pilling. I kind of want to be like Sticks, where this is like a no black pill zone. But I'm not interested in the whole doom and gloom thing, because I'm the type of person who, I used to be like that, but because I'm learning to embrace my power, stand in my power, I cannot allow certain people to make me feel powerless. I try my best to not feel that, because that's not where I want to be. I want to flat out and confidently say I refuse to be in that low energy state of mind, because it doesn't benefit me. It doesn't serve me at all. So we all know what the shit show is happening, since Comrade Carney is the elected and installed PM. Everyone that is in the know see some weird things going on. And we know that printing out a ton of money isn't going to do shit. Bringing in the Great Reset is definitely not helping us. Mass migration is out of control, and that's definitely not helping out the housing crisis, let alone an open borders policy, is bullshit also. I get it, I do agree that borders are an arbitrary line, but it's only as valid as you fucking make it, or you put value into it. And I'm not saying I'm for open borders, even though I recognize borders are arbitrary. Like, you could always switch it here, but also not have any. And look at the consequences that's happening. So the type of Canadian that I feel would fit very well in this first category is, how are they living their life despite all of this? For me, the type of Canadian in this first category would have to be one that have very deep roots here. Probably from the very beginning, from the inception of this country. They feel like they owe it to their ancestors to stay here and to do their best to fight back as much as they can and try to save the country. Whatever means that they have, right? So are they cowards for living their life in that sense? No, I say that's their reason why they're doing it. That's their prerogative. I cannot speak for them. If they have a vision and they have the willpower to seek it out, then that's their prerogative. That's not mine. But the second type of Canadian is where I have more empathy for, because I also understand. Again, this could bleed into the whole existential philosophical thing that I've been feeling for a while now. And I've always known this since I was young. I've always known that since a kid, I knew I didn't belong here. What were the obvious signs? Well, I like what America has. Canada does not pass the litmus test. Well, you guys say we have free speech, but we don't got the First Amendment. You say we have firearms, but we don't have the Second Amendment. Same thing here in Quebec. That was like the aha moment, my eureka moment. I mean, you guys keep saying you're French, but free speech comes first. You need to have free speech first before you start having to, what manifests out of speech is secondary. You guys can sit there all you want and, we're French, but that doesn't mean shit if you don't have a foundation to go off on. If that's your only foundation, well then stop bitching about Alberta that they want to separate and blah, blah, blah. But I'm getting to that. It's part of this. There are Canadians that are fed up and they see for themselves shit written on the wall and they want to pursue a better life. And part of that is seeking where the grass is greener. Hopefully it's not fake grass. There are people that have fake grass. I've seen it. It actually looks not bad. Not bad. Not sure about the maintenance though. Anyways, so there are those Canadians that have existentially made the decision and say, I have put in more than my fair share and sacrifice, blood, sweat, and tears. Okay, maybe they didn't go to war or anything, but maybe some of them did. Into a country that hates me. Into a society that demonized me for the most ridiculous, discriminatory, dehumanizing bullshit that I had to experience at the time. So, what am I still doing here? Why do I bother having to pay taxes into a system where I don't get representation? Why do I have to keep having to worry about having the government be more in my fucking business concerning my firearms? And they want to ban my car. And they want to charge me so much more for the basic necessities that it takes for a human to live by. Food, clothing, and shelter is the first thing. That is extremely important. Duh. So what's gonna happen? What do you do? And also, here's the other thing. Life is short. Life is short for us to be having to divide ourselves for what? Having to argue online for what? Having to, fight with morons in your life for what? You want to live your life. Now, do these people want peace in their life? I think they want less drama. That's what I think. Some people want peace. For me, it's not about peace. It's about being grounded. It's about being zen. Because I don't know if I ever will feel peace in my life. I don't know if I could even operate living in peace. Because but I am chaotic in my way. And people always get a negative reaction when it comes to chaos. It's just, chaos is it's not always a bad thing, folks. All right? Chaos is neutral, in my opinion, and it's fertile grounds for change, and that potentiality. Does that sound like it's a negative thing to you? Not always. It depends on how you frame it. It's your frame of mind. And so you have those Canadians that have had roots here, maybe not as deep as the first category of Canadians, but it's irrelevant because they have roots here. They want to live their life. Now, can we also make the same argument? If you come from, and just like a lot of us had family members that have immigrated from Europe to here, were my family cowards for leaving the beautiful shores of Italy to come here? I don't know what they did or didn't do to help try to make their country, their life better. But if they saw opportunity here, then that's what they did at the time. People uproot all the fucking time. I'm not talking about mass migration here because that's not a normal thing. I'm talking about legal migration. I'm talking about people that want to seek a better life and you want to go to a country that shares the same values as you. Not this unchecked, untethered bullshit. I don't believe in that. It will be like me moving to Saudi Arabia. How does that make any fucking sense? It doesn't. It really doesn't. So, they came here. They made a life for themselves. And also considering that some of them didn't have a lot of money, the technology was not as advanced as it is today, and so was the knowledge, and they had a lot of kids. Look where I'm at now. They took that leap despite the uncertainty. Even in the first category, those Canadians, there is that uncertainty still looming over everybody, no matter who it is. No person is immune, 100%. So you have all of these considerations, and you move somewhere else, whether you want to live within Canada or you live outside of Canada. And then you're going to have some people that will turn around and say that you're a coward for leaving. And I say it's a lot more complicated than that. Just like I think it's also unfair, and it's definitely bullshit, when people want to call you a traitor for wanting to buy American products and not going with the flow because you were told to buy Canadian. That's not how this works, folks. You buy Canadian because you actually care about Canadian workers, Canadian products, Canadian services, anything Canadian. Not because the government told you. For me, it was more about, well, whatever's cheaper. But it's also, this isn't free trade. Canada has been the asshole this entire time. And Trump is just doing what Canada's doing. But that's besides the point. Basically, giving them a taste of their own medicine. You see what I mean? If you saw my last video, that's part of the paradigm shift. We're only matching your energy, bruv. Now, that's how we've been treated. Now I'm on your level, let's negotiate. Or have some instant karma or payback, or hopefully you learned a lesson behind this. That is part of the paradigm shift that I want. But that aside, I don't believe that this second category of Canadians are cowards if they make that decision. Because it's a lot more nuanced than just saying that. Like, it's easy to say. It's also easy to tell Canadians, well, if you don't like Canada, move out. Yeah, bruv, easy said than done. Easy fucking said than done. That's not something that I would take very lightly. For you to uproot yourself and go to another country where is it that much of a different, let's say the United States, is it that much of a different culture shock? I mean, they're English. It's not that much of a shock. Guns, you're not used to it, but you'll get used to it, type of thing. Rather not be shot at. But that's a different story. So, yeah, it probably may not be the end of the world. That's not the big thing, but it's just the whole fucking thing of uprooting, getting all your shit together, and deciding with your other half to do that. Whether kids are in the mix or not. So I would honestly suggest a lot of people shut the fuck up and hold off on saying that because that just sounds stupid. Yes, if you've been telling people a dozen times already, they probably have already heard it long enough to say, bruv, I get it. All right? Tell me something I don't know. Tell me something else. Right? But I don't believe these two categories of Canadians are cowards for doing what they do. Whether they choose to fight back or not. But it's difficult for the second tier of Canadians to fight back when... How did you want them to change things? You could help change from the micro to the macro, but the thing is, it's getting increasingly difficult. It's getting difficult to do so. You can't keep paying your taxes and expecting change. You cannot keep voting into a system where all your choices are all Coke and you want fucking Pepsi. And even then, they will rig the fucking game and say, sorry, it was actually Coke the entire time. It looks like Pepsi, but it's actually Coke. And it's funded by the same parent company anyways. So really, what's the fucking difference? Again, if this was me, I would have abolished and just forced these guys out of office a long time ago. But I'm too extreme for such a thing. I'm too extreme. And I'm also extreme for being a free speech absolutist. I am too extreme for talking about libertarianism. I'm too extreme for talking about capitalism. And saying, well, you guys did not have to ban American products. It wasn't needed. That to me is sort of fascistic. In a way, fascistic, maybe not. But why are you banning American products? Why are you telling Canadians what they can and cannot buy? Let them decide what it is they can and cannot buy, and then in the fucking process of it, talk to Trump and actually make your case for negotiating. You guys are not good at doing that because you guys within Canada couldn't do it amongst yourselves. You guys are too busy fighting over should we have a pipeline in Quebec or not? No, we don't want your dirty oil. We just want your lovely green money, and we're gonna get the rest of our oil from a bunch of countries that do not have good views on human rights. Oh, well, isn't that a little bit awkward now? And don't forget, the Hydro-Quebec is also part of the WIF. So hopefully, by that point, I won't be experiencing any fucking rolling blackouts. Because let me tell you, when it's winter over here, and it's freezing, and you got no power, it becomes a little bit more than a fucking piss-off. At that point, you might as well live in a fucking igloo. For real then, for real, Canadians are actually living in igloos in that case. I don't think those coffin homes are going to be any sufficient, but regardless, it'd be kind of ironic. Peak irony if those fucking boomers that were elbows up are living in those coffin homes. That would be peak fucking hilarity and irony. But you said you were going to deal with Trump. Did he say that? I mean, he said probably one thing, he meant something else. But again, folks, respect your elders. The ones that are actually wise, not the ones that were overly emotional and thought that annexing Canada was going to happen. Well, I wish it did. But anyways, I'm a traitor. I'm a bad Canadian. probably they would see me as a coward for just having to leave. Or maybe not. We don't want you here in Canada. Really? Because if we were actually like the United States, I'd be kicking your fucking ass out and shipping you off to Cuba, China. You guys belong there. You don't belong to being a free country if you're okay with having to continue to live your life in a ball and chain. Go live where people are actually doing that. You volunteered that, you go fucking live there. How's about that, douchebag? But here's where I find the real cowards are, okay? Those that are brainwashed and they go to another city, another state, another province, another country, that they're bringing their pernicious beliefs with them. That is where I have a huge fucking problem with. And those are the real cowards in my own opinion. If you left California, for example, and I wouldn't call it liberal anymore. I wouldn't call rampant homelessness and the fentanyl crises, all those drugs. I don't find it to be liberal. That's not liberal. That is just terrible mismanagement and corruption on unfortunate levels of authoritarian. But that's what authoritarianism is. I mean, you want a centralized system, but even then, you guys want to depend on the fucking government for everything. It's like God. Your own personal governmental Jesus. Oh my God. Anyways, so those guys who leave from one state to go to another one that might just be completely different and you vote the same way. Those guys are fucking cowards. Those are the real cowards. But the ones who, like I stated, the ones that have deep roots here and don't want to leave Canada because they feel like they have an obligation to their ancestors, to their land, to their legacy, that's your choice. I don't begrudge you. I can actually understand why. But that, I would consider myself to be in the second category. I would put myself there. I only find this conversation to be lacking in nuance because it's easy to say, you're a coward, you're a traitor, get the fuck out. Bruv, it's very easy. I still do that, but at least I'm aware that there's nuance and complexities to this conversation. And it's the internet. It's not always like it's hard to have these sort of conversations where things have been dumbed down and people's attention spans are no longer than that of a fucking goldfish. And probably how many people watch this video in its entirety. That's the other thing. To actually understand the point of the video. So anyways, I thought I would bring this up, thought I would talk about it and speak on something new. Because it is reality. This is a real thing. And, by the way, I don't need people telling me in the comments section or the chat that no matter where you go, there's always going to be corruption. There's always going to be idiots. Bruv, I know. It really... I'm living 20 minutes away from my old neighborhood. I know there's idiots. The drivers over here are not that much better than the ones in the burbs I used to grow up in, let alone Montreal. I know. I'm in the world. I'm in the world. I see it. I smell it. I don't taste it, but I've experienced it. So I know. It goes without saying. With the corruption and all that shit, I know. Please save that for somebody who is really inexperienced with the world. So thought I would just bring this up and, I don't see anybody else talking about it. Thought I'd give my own opinion on such a matter. Peace out.